Hey, what's happening, gamers? Welcome to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the video game.
Woo!
It's time to assemble the 5 teenagers with attitudes. Traveling back to the year 1994, 20 years ago.
Whoa.
Wow. Such interesting and daring fashion choices back then.
I know.
I'm loving the parachute pants that Zach has.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so I have a particular order that I play these characters. I always go with Kim first. I don't know why, it just seems like Kim would be the weakest of the group since she didn't know martial arts in the show at all. She was a gymnast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They only knew magically martial arts once they became Power Rangers.
Oh, okay.
Aside
Just
from,
like,
Jason and Zach.
it
And,
magically got into their veins or something, yeah.
Trini used kung fu outside of her suit, but when she was transformed, mysteriously, they all knew the same martial arts.
Yeah. Those really look like 90s shorts, too. Like, obviously, this is the 90s.
This is the 90s.
Wow, this
Totally
really takes
90s.
me back. Oh my gosh.
So, Kimmy is supposed to be a valley girl, so she even would, speak with, using and incorporate a lot of the memes before they were memes in the 90s. Like, when she goes inside her, Megazord thing for the first time, like her pterodactyl Zord, she's like, oh, nice stereo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, this game,
So she
of course...
created memes, totally.
Yes, Kimberly created the memes long before there were memes. How's that for science facts for you? So Kimmy is, of course, the Pink Ranger, and the only really female ranger of the cast, if you think about it. Trini got the short end of the stick because her Sentai counterpart is actually a dude.
I know, you were explaining to me that, and I was like, wow, just wow. I don't know.
Also, this villain we're about to fight, Bones, is the first bad guy the Power Rangers ever fought, like the monster outside of Goldar, who was, of course, a minion.
Oh, her skirt isn't there.
No, her skirt's not here. One thing you're gonna notice about this Power Rangers game is every single Power Ranger is a recoloring of the Red Ranger. Every single one.
Yeah, look how buff she looks.
I know.
Like, instantly.
She went to one of those, 90s fitness stores and got the vitamins that they used to...
Oh my gosh, yeah, vitamins.
Vitamins.
That's right.
They were called vitamins, not steroids in the 90s. Vitamins.
Wow.
It's like spinach.
Yeah. They're like, it's safe. Yeah, exactly.
Kimmy has a cool weapon that is different than the other Rangers. She has the power bow, so I can actually shoot arrows,
cool.
but unlike the show, the arrows are incredibly weak. Also, you're gonna notice she has no blaster, like the Ranger blasters that they carry on their... It's either left or right hip. They don't use it in this game at all.
Oh,
this
okay.
is strictly a side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's a very short game.
Oh, nice, a bench.
You've been benched.
To the face.
Bench
Oh my
to the
god.
face, yeah.
Wow.
So, this game followed a lot of side-scrolling beat-em-ups, which I love. I love side-scrolling action games, and we don't really get that much anymore. Outside of, Shovel Knight today.
Yeah,
but back then, there was so much of it. It was like the popular thing, just like the 80s.
I love
everything
the
was
side-scrolling,
platformers.
Yeah.
And then it evolved into side-scrolling beat-em-up games or action games for the 90s. And there was so much of them. I remember as a kid, I was so mad when they released the Power Rangers Zeo racing game, because it was like, why couldn't you just make Power Rangers Zeo like this?
Yeah.
I want to play my Gold Ranger like this.
They need more games like this, like, just simple, I mean...
Oh, they would have made so much money, too.
It's more fun to play, like, some of my most favorite games are,
I didn't like that car.
Ninja Turtles, side-scrolling games, Battletoads, I mean, those... They never get old. They're fun to play.
All right, I want to explain why I'm beating up the car. In the Power Rangers, original, Sentai counterpart, the Zoo Rangers had no problem with destroying public property. It was only the Power Rangers that were kind of, dubbed in later when they were doing, certain fights in a city and the city was getting destroyed. They were like, I need to be careful of public property, But the Sentai Rangers were just kind of like, we need to defeat this monster to save humanity. They didn't really worry about public property and things like that. But what's funny about the boss that we fight in this thing, it's not a boss that Kimmy actually defeated. It was Trini. Trini was the one who defeated Bones, or rather her Sentai counterpart, through his head into the lava and this kind of alternate underworld that they were in.
Okay.
It was the Yellow Rangers
so they
idea.
should have her here fighting him. That's
I
weird.
always play as Kimberly though for this level.
Yeah.
Because I want to get her out of the way. It's not that I hated Kimberly. Every boy had a crush on Kimberly, but I really liked Trini as a kid. She was an interesting character.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you showing me the show later, I didn't get to see it then, but I thought Trini was way cooler, so. Because, you know.
She was 20% cooler.
Yeah. She's got girl power.
Once Green Ranger came on the scene, it became the Kimberly and Tommy show, and it was all about them dating and all kinds of stuff. And it was just like, I just want to see people destroy stuff. I'm like 11 years old or whatever. I don't care about girls and dating. I just want to see monsters like get stomped on by a Megazord, which never happened, by the way.
Yeah.
I was waiting before Rita could make her monster grow that the Megazord just kind of like steps on the monster. It's like, that's all it would take.
Yeah.
It would be like, before she can make the monster grow, just get in the Megazord and stomp on it.
Wait, what happened to that guy's arms? They're gone?
He's gone. This guy has the ability to, come back and just be a floating head. I'm gonna use my bomb on him.
Oh,
Pterodactyl powers.
Pterodactyl.
Dead.
Yeah, well, I was more of a Trini girl anyway because, Kimberly would be like your typical popular girl.
She was the Valley girl, the
She
popular
only
one.
cares about like her hair and nails and things, where Kimberly has her own interests. You know what I mean? And that's why I think Kim is cooler.
All right, on to the next stage, where we're gonna play as Trini, because it's all about Trini.
Yeah. And that's why my art has the Yellow Ranger, because she's awesome.
Now, I really hate this stage, though, but I love it for Trini because one of the things that was great about her character is, even though she's Vietnamese, they have her be the kung fu expert, and she's always doing tai chi and different things in like wooded areas, and hanging out with her uncle, whose name was Uncle Howard.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So they have her be the girl ninja or something, kind of.
One thing I want to talk about Mr. Bones before I forget. Both in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and Zoo Ranger, he had an army of skeleton warriors that weren't just putties. Putties are the enemies we're fighting right now. Like, he had his own army, like, to fight against the Rangers.
Yeah.
But it was only one episode because he was defeated and whatever. But, he was a cool villain that got wasted in just one episode of Power Rangers.
He was the only one that had had his own army.
Army of skeleton warriors. Yep.
Wow. Interesting.
And he was killed by having his head thrown in the lava.
Wow.
But in this game, there's so many different color of like putties, and they incorporate the Power Rangers colors for the most part. Like, if you notice very carefully, the black putties, they're actually holding the Mastodon shield, which is Zack's
weird
Zord that becomes like a shield for the Megazord.
I thought all putties were like
they were always that color. That's what the putties always look like.
Gray or black, like kind of thing like that. Yeah.
Well, they would have weapons on their hands too. Like the stronger super putties would have weapons and things like that.
Wow, I don't know why, but those putties remind me of those in Ninja Turtles, those suits that those guys wore in that. I don't know which.
Well, they were actors in suits, but usually for the most part, putties were always gray, and they would have like mutated weapons and things like that.
I see. Now they have
These guys are the purple and the dark green are the strongest putties in this game. You have to use your full combo in order to knock them down. But I loved this game as a kid. I played this so much. This was one of my most played Super Nintendo games. It was just so much fun. Never good at dodging those barrels, even 20 years later.
Yeah.
Or apparently knives either.
Trini,
come on, Trini.
Trini's taken names like without even her Power Ranger powers yet.
Well, she was a kung fu expert. Billy and Kimberly were just, doing gymnastics all the time because their actors in real life were, had a gymnastics background.
Yeah.
One of them almost went to the Olympics.
Wow.
Which was later explored in, I believe, a Kimberly storyline, but I think David Youst, is the actor who played Billy, was the guy who was going to the Olympics, or could have.
Yeah.
And Trini was trying to break into American television, and she came for this show. Her name was Tai Young, or Tri Young.
Yeah.
They called her Twee. I hate this rake boss. I always have a hard time with him. But one thing that
she's totally buff now.
Yeah, little now she
doesn't
recolor
actually
of
look
Tyrannosaurus.
Tyrannosaurus, exactly.
Well, the problem I had with this game too is the up and Y attack is the same move for everybody but Kimberly. Kimberly is the only one that has a different up and Y attack.
Okay.
Everybody has like this, like, bring the melee attack down, which is a weak attack. You'd think it would kill him in one hit, but it doesn't.
Yeah, that's annoying.
What I find really fascinating about like learning about the past of Power Rangers from like Tony Oliver, the guy who played Rick Hunter and Robotech. He was like one of the head people on Power Rangers, like bringing it over to the States with Saban and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Twee or Trini, when they were doing a reading, because nobody knew what the show was, she was the first one to say, "Oh, so we're doing a Sentai show." Because nobody outside of America really knew what Sentai was.
Yeah, I was actually gonna just say that. That's what I remembered. That's like what I most remember you telling me about her.
I always
she was the only one because no one had any idea what they were doing. Yeah.
I always douse Amber in a lot of history of stuff before we start playing or whatever, because it's always fun. I mean, I know you guys like the lore stuff for Batman, but I really know a lot about the first and second season of Power Rangers. I stopped watching after Rocky, Aisha, and Adam came on the scene. I have nothing against their actors, but I will say this: Rocky was the worst Red Ranger in history, and even the show proved this because
they didn't show him.
They hardly showed the actor at all whenever he was in the command center after like 20 episodes. Even in Nezio, unless he was standing next to Tommy or something, they wouldn't put him in the shot. But Adam was very good on camera, and Aisha would appear on camera a lot, but still not to the extent of Trini, Zach, and Jason like the originals. It became the Tommy show, but yeah. The show was fantastic. It was very diverse, like the first and second season, like up until the other cast came in.
All the characters in the show had different personalities, and they all, like, you'd think like the characters in the show wouldn't get along in high school, but then they all did in the show, so it's really cool.
Well, in the Day of the Dumpster episode, Billy is being tutored by Trini, and what's amazing is Billy goes on to be a super genius, but Trini is the one tutoring him to help him with certain subjects, and also she speaks geek. So she knows like all his geeky terms, and they were setting up a coupling for them later on anyway. You could see the early groundwork for it.
Yeah, I would totally be Trini then.
Yeah. So, in the episode, they get drafted by Zordon in Day of the Dumpster, and Billy was just introduced to, you know, the four group of friends, and Trini was actually new to that group too, because she was a foreign exchange student from like, I believe, only been in Angel Grove about a year or two before Power Rangers came out.
Okay.
And Billy has lived there his whole life, and Jason has been there, and Kim, and things like that. So Jason, Kimberly, Trini, and Zach know each other, and, you know, they're friends, especially in the original pilot for Day of the Dumpster, which was never aired, and had a different person playing Trini.
Yeah.
There were actually originally two African Americans playing Rangers, like in the pilot. You had a black girl playing Trini in the pilot, and of course Zach was playing Zach.
Oh, and then they switched it to
she couldn't do the show for some reason, and they brought in Twee to do it.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. But in the Day of the Dumpster, Billy was just introduced to the cast, and Zordon recruits a team of teenagers with attitude, and Billy gets like looped into the group, and he doesn't know how to do anything. In fact, when the putties first show up, he runs away, and he's like, you know, he's terrified of these things, and Jason's trying to get the group, you know, to do their thing, and when they finally get to the command center or whatever, and they become Power Rangers, Zordon chooses him to be the leader, not just because he's wearing red, but because, you know, he knew how to lead the group.
Yeah, because he kind of brought people together, and like, because I mean, being a good leader takes humility in a way, you know what I mean, and like kind of helping other people out, you know, that's awesome.
What was different about this game too is outside of the actual side-scrolling beat-em-up mechanics, what you're seeing right now is there was actually platforming with, you know, kind of basic platforming puzzles.
Yeah.
But it's just made the game so fun. I mean, this game only takes about 50 minutes to beat. We're probably going to do a two-parter because I don't think somebody could sit through almost a 60-minute long play. And
even though the music is awesome, head bobbing all the time.
The music was fantastic. Super Nintendo had some of the best stuff.
Although I keep, like, when I see Kimberly and Trini in their Power Ranger suits, I keep being like, oh my gosh, they look so manly.
Just think of it as a muscle suit. You know?
Okay.
Just think of it like when Rocky and Adam came on the show and they had to wear Jason and Zach's suits.
Yeah.
Saban and company had to put like muscles into the suit. They had to sew muscles into it. So they were wearing like, you know, so they would look similar to the Red and Black Ranger from previous actors because they couldn't fit into their original suits, and they didn't have their new suits ready by the time they started filming. So for the first like 10 or 15 appearances that they're Rangers, they're wearing Zach and Jason's old suits.
Wow.
They literally were trying to fill in their shoes and they couldn't. Although Adam was a pretty good Black Ranger. He had more character development and he was a cooler actor to watch.
Yeah.
Rocky, the reason why I can't stand Rocky, not only did he say Tyrannosaurus terribly, but he was just a bad actor.
How could you even come in after trying to fill in St. John's shoes? You know, no one could ever do it like him. He had so much stage presence and stuff like that.
You went from...
I would not want to come after him. I mean, I would be able to anyway. No. I'm not a guy.
Well,
but
you went from like this strong, courageous, like empowering, imposing leader of the Power Rangers to a goofball as the Red Ranger. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad that after like 20-something episodes, they end up losing their powers, so I don't have to hear him say Tyrannosaurus anymore. He just says Red Ranger power or something and gets like ninja powers and he becomes the Red Ape or something. It's like, all right, that's fitting in Rocky.
He could do his own thing.
Make Rocky the monkey. That makes sense.
Yeah, only Austin St. John can be Tyrannosaurus. That's right. Or Jason.
This is the problem that I had with Saban. They should have just ended Mighty Morphin Power Rangers after the first season, like after they did their 60 or 80 episodes. Yeah. And then they should have done adapted Die Ranger, where they brought in the White Ranger from that, or Dia Ranger. I don't know how to say it right. Super Squadron or Mega Squadron or whatever they're called in Japan.
And then
because
have new people in that one.
Right, that was what the Thunderzord series was. And then I have no problem replacing the actors during that because you will always have the Tyrannosaurus be Jason.
Well, it was a really awkward reason they got, replaced. So it was just like, the whole thing was awkward.
Well, the whole story has finally come out. But what happened was Austin St. John, being the leader that he was trying to get more money for the entire cast, including the stunt team, the guys who do the lighting, the costume designers, everybody. And originally, all the Rangers were on board, but Kimberly and, Amy Jo Johnson and Jason David Frank were, kind of unsure about things because they were becoming the really popular characters. Uh-oh, I'm gonna die. Okay, I'm gonna get back to the Ranger story in a little bit. I'm totally gonna die, and I've never died fighting the Rake guy. I may struggle against the Rake guy, but I've never lost to Gnarly Gnome.
That's right. Trini has to win this one. It's a guy with a rake. Come on.
I would totally bust out my, blasters, but that thing was invulnerable to it.
Yes, it's very, very buff Trini versus guy with a rake.
Vitamin Trini.
Yeah, area clear. Woohoo!
Oh man, that was tough. Alright, it's time to bring in Billy, because I always use Billy on this level, because Billy's awesome. Alright, so back to my story. Let's see. The Ranger replacement, going off to the peace conference, as Saban liked to put it when he fired somebody. Careful or I'll send you to a peace conference. Alright, so we were at Austin St. John, had contacted the other Rangers. Everybody was on board to help out the stunt guys, and they were going to do a walk-off in order to get support for the crew. And everybody involved, because Saban made $1 billion on the Power Rangers property.
Wow.
After the first 20-something episodes, the first year.
Yeah, so you'd think you'd be able to pay people a normal wage.
You would think that, but Saban is like the Grinch and Scrooge McDuck. He's super greedy.
No.
And, he basically wanted people to do all this crazy conditions in their suits in the desert and all over the place and, California's heat and stuff like that.
It's yes.
And the crew had terrible conditions. So Austin, got the other Rangers on board, and they had a certain date that they, with their representative, would walk up to Saban and the big people and say, we need more money, as does the crew, and if you don't do that, we're gonna, just walk off the set.
Yep.
And what happened was, as history knows it, Austin St. John, Twee Young, and Walter Jones walked off the set, and they got replaced pretty early on. They held auditions and things like that.
But originally Billy was gonna do it too.
Originally,
but then
David Yost
he kind of got strong-armed or something.
Was on board, and something happened because Kimberly and Tommy were the popular characters at the time, and Billy kind of got into that group, especially after the other three left. He was already starting to get incorporated into that group, and Saban absolutely loved and cherished the Green Ranger / White Ranger.
Yeah.
He had this thing that he just absolutely loved Jason David Frank, Everything, Jason could do no wrong, even when he did like dangerous pranks on the set or whatever. Didn't matter.
Wow.
Like, he was just completely in Saban's good graces.
So pretty much they were trying to get more money for the other, not just themselves, but for all the people that were involved.
Everybody involved with Power Rangers
and
who had poor, like,
it actually could have worked if all of the Power Rangers had been in on it, because they're, like you were saying, there's no way they could have. You were telling me before they couldn't replace the entire cast, because all the little kids would be like, "My heroes, what did you do? Bring them back!" And they would have to bring them back.
The ratings would plummet. Just
and
like the ratings
they did kind of plummet.
They did a little
after
bit.
a while.
They did. So, of course, Tommy talked to people, and David Youse sided with Billy or Tommy. So then you had like kind of a Power Ranger civil war going back and forth. But to this day, Austin St. John, Walter, and if Twee was still alive, they would have no problems with David Yost, because he tours with them and stuff now. Like, Twee, rest her soul. She passed away in 2001. But he's fine with Austin and Walter. They tour and convention and stuff all the time, so there's no bad blood.
I just felt bad for Zach, because it was like, I know, like you said, Trini obviously she wasn't able to, because of the tragedy with Trini, she wasn't able to come back, but I was so glad Austin was able to come back later. But I felt so bad, because it's like Zach was doing the right thing and he wasn't able, but you were telling me before that he was able to do other stuff.
Yeah, he worked with Nickelodeon. He also became a voice actor, just like Johnny Young Bosch, the second Black Ranger. Ended up becoming a voice actor too.
Oh, cool.
But he also, remember those game shows in the 90s? Mm-hmm. With Nickelodeon, he did one of those game shows for a long time. And he also became, the whole thing that Power Rangers, what Walter wanted is he wanted them to become part of a union, so that they would have to have better conditions. It's a bond. Essentially, didn't want to do the union thing. And to this day, I still don't know if Power Rangers is union based. When they were with Disney, and Disney owned them for like almost a decade, they were union.
Yeah.
And, Walter would have come back and done cameos, and Adam came back and did a couple cameos.
Yeah.
Like when Disney owned Power Rangers. And even Tommy came back, because, the union would have been a good thing, like for what that big group of people were doing. So essentially what Austin and the other two Rangers did to try to get a union was not a bad thing. It's just they had poor leadership from their, legal side of things. That was a bad thing to do, especially when they had the movie coming up. They should have waited until after they did the movie.
Yeah, then they would have been so popular, there'd be no way they could replace them.
And a lot of people...
They would hold ultimate power!
Yes. The reason why many kids went to go see the Power Rangers movie is because they still thought that Jason, Trini, and Zach were going to be in the movie and not the replacements. And then once everybody saw, okay, the replacement Rangers are the Power Rangers, then Saban had to scatter like crazy and adapt another Sentai show, except to change it into the Alien Rangers. Yeah. And he shrunk the little kids and got them off the show for a while. Like the actors were gone, like Rocky, Aisha, Adam, and even Tommy and Kat or whatever, they were gone. And they became little kids, and David Youse stayed on because he used the ability to make himself taller or whatever, cute and normal, and he worked with the Alien Rangers, who were another Sentai show. Mm-hmm. And they just warped their voices.
It didn't last long.
No, it did not last long. It was like 20 episodes. And then they brought on Zeo. But the one thing that I've always liked about Billy, in hindsight, is he is the only character that actually had character development. Yeah. Like, at the beginning, he had geek speech, speaking affirmative and talking about, like, just all kinds of weird science stuff. And Trini was supposed to be kind of his love interest that they were molding, like coupling between those two. And she would interpret what Billy said half the time.
Oh, that's cute.
Which is adorable.
That's totally cute.
But he was the only character outside of Kimberly who did not know how to fight. And he was actually a coward. But when he got his powers, his Sentai counterpart was like this masterful martial artist, great with the lance and essentially a javelin, but they called it the lance in the American one.
I remember the few. I haven't seen that many episodes, but I should probably go back and see them. But
it's all on Netflix.
From what I've watched, like the episodes I saw Billy in, where he was like, a normal kid before whatever, it felt like he wasn't, like, there would be like the least likely person to be a Power Ranger.
He was the underdog character.
Yeah.
The one that you wanted to root for, but at the same time you were worried about him being a Power Ranger.
It's almost like a little kid watching it could be like, that could be me. Like, that would be me, you know, like a normal, I don't know. Even someone with glasses could be a Power Ranger. It's like, whoa, this is amazing.
But
if Billy could do it, anyone could do it.
Under the leadership of Jason, he signed up for, you know, Jason's karate class, and Jason started to train him. And then when he came to a point where he, you know, figured he was learning things too difficult from, you know, the leader of the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
He went to Trini's uncle Howard, who is essentially Mr. Miyagi.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he learned
okay.
from him.
Yeah, that's true.
So over time, Billy became like this really cool ranger. And we really got to see that growth when he became the wolf in Power Rangers the movie.
Oh,
like, he was the only character that really had an arc in that movie.
Yeah.
And he was already on his way to becoming this amazing person. The only thing that I miss about Billy is they got rid of his mannerism, his way of speaking.
Oh, like he became cool later on.
He became cool,
so he wasn't.
There was no more
it
geek
would have been
speech.
cool if he continued to like stay with his geekiness and still be able to fight. Like, you could totally keep your geek personality and fight. That would be cool.
One thing I liked what they incorporated with Power Rangers 2 was Billy used all these different like gadgets and things like that, and they incorporated his wisdom into the character, especially when Saban had to contract Toei and Bandai to make more Zoo Ranger stuff when the series had already gone 2 Sentai series ahead in Japan, and they had Billy like appear, or the Blue Ranger, like more intelligent and not fighting as much, using gadgets, interacting with Red Ranger,
like
Green
working
Ranger, Black.
smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Kind of like Batman. He uses like, it's not just brawn, but he uses his brains against his enemy. That's how he's able to defeat people that are stronger than him.
But later on, you know, when after the original 3 left the show, I mean, he definitely got more character development and could take on monsters by himself, and kind of became second in command of the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Because Rocky was not a competent leader.
Yeah, you were telling me you thought like later on it would have been cool if Billy was actually some kind of leader.
In Zeo, I wish if the original cast was around, I would have had Billy become the Red Ranger and have Tommy leave the show so he could go and be a professor or whatever he wanted to be, and bring him back for Turbo or having him on the show, you know, whatever.
Yep.
But I think that he just showed the best qualities overall.
Yeah.
He was a character that had so much growth, and he changed and became very cool.
He was a lot of people, their favorite character was Billy.
Yeah.
So
Well, anyway, gamers, that's going to conclude our first look at Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on the Super Nintendo. Don't forget to like for the Billy speech. Affirmatively awesome. And we'll see you with more Power Rangers later.
see ya.